We are just about to pull up to speak with some Columbine survivors. It's been 19 years since the shooting at Columbine, and I'm really nervous because I know that the anniversary of these kind of events are really tough on survivors, but they've been doing a lot of really good work to help other survivors. So I think this story is an important one that needs to be told. Heather Martin and Zach Cartaya have known each other since they were 6 and have been best friends their whole lives. But on April 20th, 1999, when they were 17, they were in the choir room at Columbine High School when those lives and their friendship were changed forever. So take me back to you guys in high school. What were your hopes? What were your dreams?
I was going to go into computer sciences. I had been accepted to a school at that point, and I was just looking forward to the future.
I was going to go off to college, get an education, and just kind of see where that took me. That, obviously changed on April 20th.
What was the day like before? You guys wake up?
It was an incredibly typical day. Everything was normal until 11:20.
We started out choir like we always did, with like warm-ups, trying to warm our voices up, and it was a really large class. One of the students that was out in the bathroom came running back up the stairs into the room and just said, "Someone's got a gun downstairs and they're shooting." And we all stood up like, "What?" And Mr. Andres is like, "Sit down!" And so we all sat down, and then the gunfire got really close, and it was like boom, and a lot of people ran out one way, some people were running out another way, and we didn't run. For me, what I remember is that I was like, don't overreact.
And we looked out the door, and the first thing we saw was a fireball, and then Mr. Sanders take the shot in the back of his upper neck, if I'm not mistaken, and that was the first time I'd ever seen anything really gruesome in real life. And then we froze.
What's going through your head while you're hiding?
I think there was, at very least at first, if not throughout the day, I think there was sort of a consensus that we were going to die there.
We all kind of moved to one side of the room so that we were far away from the outer door and the outer walls. So we're basically like catty corner to the library. So, we heard everything that happened in the library. We heard the gunfire and the screaming. And I remember finally understanding that it was gunfire and that these are shots being fired in the school. And I started crying. Eventually, then came a knock at the door, and we all look at each other like, what are we gonna do? And then somebody goes, "Who is it?" And like, "Denver SWAT team, open the door." So we could not move the desks away from the door fast enough. We're moving the desks, we swing open the door, we come flying out of the room. We went up along the side of the building. We did pass Danny's body and Rachel's body on our way.
Danny carpooled with me, and so that was really hard. I recognized Danny right away, and he had ridden with us to school that morning.
17 years old, you're graduating in weeks, supposed to be graduating in weeks. How did you cope after that?
We're just trying to get back to normal. We can do this. We're not impacted. It's cool. Like, we're just going to keep going. And so we did, but a lot of class of 99 struggled, and a lot of people dropped out, and there's lots of, suicide attempts and trying to cope using drugs and alcohol.
And suicides, plural. I mean, we lost a lot of people along the way too.
Mm-hmm. It took me 9 or 10 years before I finally, I used to just say I went to Columbine, and then it turned into I'm a Columbine survivor.
It took me about 8 years to go get help. I went to college, I worked on Wall Street for a little while, but I also realized at that point that this was going to be something, even though I'm preaching this, it's something that I was going to be dealing with for the rest of my life. And I think at that point I was like, I survived this, and I'm going to have to keep surviving this.
In 2012, Heather got an idea for a survivor support group. She wanted to take the anger and frustration and helplessness she felt after every mass shooting and use her experience to help other survivors cope. That's when the Rebels Project was born.
Duplicated followers. This was the night that you guys got pizza, remember? And I had to run and...
No, this is at the Resiliency Center.
Oh, was it the center?
So a husband and wife held an elementary school hostage with bombs. And so Lori and her family traveled out for one of the Rebels Project meetings.
She worked in a bar, and I came tearing into the bar and said, I have an idea, let's start a nonprofit. Let's start a nonprofit for shooting survivors. And she was like, I'm working on a support group. And I was like, okay, then how do these things come together?
As survivors, whenever a shooting occurs, we're re-traumatized to a point. We feel really, really helpless. Like, what can we do to help? And we realize that, we've been through this and it was awful. And so we can share our experiences, our awfulness, in hopes of making it better for someone else. Rough days are going to happen, and you're going to stumble, and that's okay. And everything that you're experiencing, given what you've gone through, is totally normal.
What are your top goals for people who come to the Rebels Project?
There's a couple things. So I think first off, I hope they get validation. I hope they get validation for what they're feeling and what they've been through. I also want them to, as soon as possible in their journey, it's going to go at their own pace, but own that label of survivor, because they are survivors. You can collapse at 5 years, you can collapse at 6 years, but then you've got someone who's at 10 years who's like, me too.
And yes, you may fall apart at year 5, 6, 11, and 17.
Yeah.
But, through the work that we do, we're able to tell our stories and then share those with others, and that filters down, and people see that, and they start doing that, and they start getting involved in the conversation.